The Gulf Coast Growth Show is sponsored by Chevron Pasadena Refinery and is an extension of the Economic Alliance Houston Port Region, where our mission is to market and grow a vibrant regional economy. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Gulf Coast Growth Show. I'm your host, Jason Lee, joined by my co-host, Zeke Smith.
What's up, Jason?
Zeke, great to see you today. And Mr. Dani Grant, the manager of human resources for Mitsubishi Chemical Group. Dani, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And now, while you serve in that role, and we'll talk a little bit about your role and the importance of it, though, we have a special show this week. We're here to talk about veterans, something that's near and dear to all of our hearts, especially here in this organization. But it being Veterans Day week, we just felt it appropriate to bring somebody on, share a little bit about that. And more importantly, I think women in the military and then women in industry, right? I think it's a great deal, and it's kind of positioned you for the success that you've seen and the things that you're able to learn. So we're excited to kind of hear your story and your passion for it. So Dani, we will talk a little bit about what you do, but give us a little bit of background about your time in the Marines, what you do. And you're wearing a shirt right now, Women's Marines Association. So
yes, I am.
Just tell us the story.
So it kind of happened by accident.
Okay.
Honestly, halfway through my senior year, had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do when I graduated. My sister went to talk to the recruiter, the Air Force recruiter, and he was at lunch. The only one there was the Marine Corps recruiter. So within 2 weeks, my sister, the guy I was dating at the time, and myself all signed up. So I signed up halfway through my senior year.
Wow.
Left that summer, and I loved it. Nice. Of course, boot camp, very big challenge for anyone.
Yeah.
Just probably the best non-decision I ever made.
Right.
Just because it was something that was on a whim. Ended up spending almost 8 years on active duty, and it has led me into the career field that I'm in now. Wouldn't trade a minute of it. It was probably some of the best times that I've spent more in the Marine Corps.
So talk to us about those that are, when you, the transition, and that maybe the things that the Marine Corps helped equip you with and position you for success in the industry today.
All right. So when I transitioned out, I'm going to age myself. It was 98. So it was a little different. There are a lot more opportunities now for those that transition out of the military. The biggest one for me, though, is we still, of course, had the GI Bill. I did elect that and I used it. So I left the Marine Corps in December of 97, official discharge January 98, and I started college that next fall.
Nice.
Started off at Lamar University, did a year there, then decided to move back home to Cleveland, Ohio, and got my bachelor's of political science from Cleveland State University. So it paid for my entire degree, which was something huge for myself and my husband. Right out of the military, not having a lot of skill base other than what you did in the military, it was very hard financially. So thankfully, had the GI Bill and afforded myself that opportunity to get a college degree. What I did in the military was service record book and legal. So it transitioned right into a career in human resources, because pretty much what I do now is I take care of personnel files and legal issues, investigations. We do the promotions, things like that too, but it is almost exactly the civilian equivalent of what I did in the military for 7.5 years. So I had no idea at the time.
That doesn't happen very often. That's
right.
That's pretty lucky. I mean, maybe not. Maybe it's just the opportunity came right time and you took advantage of it. But you don't hear that story very often.
It's difficult.
Sure.
Try and help veterans when they come out to point them in careers in our industry.
Yeah.
But it can be very tough there too, because a lot of places require experience, some kind of degree. So we help them kind of talk to them about what they need to do to place themselves in industry. It may not be the equivalent of what they did in the military, but what they did in the military, the other skills, the soft skills they learn, will definitely help them in their careers in the civilian life.
And let's talk about that for a minute, because, like you said, not everything is going to transition, right? I mean, like helicopter pilot, unless you're going to get out and fly helicopters, that might not have an immediate transition.
Sure.
Or some guy in infantry, right? Like that might not have an immediate transition to something out here in the career. But let's talk about fundamentals, right? When you think about the things that you learned in the military, that it didn't matter what career you had, those were things that you were going to carry with you forever, What are some of the key things, in your time in the military that you think have carried with you forever? It's relevant of the career that you're in.
Absolutely. I think one of the ones is dedication. So whether you're dedicating yourself to your studies, your company, your employer, your coworkers, that dedication is not always innate in someone, and sometimes it has to be brought out. And the military does that really well.
Sure.
Unfortunately, you see what happens when a lot of people are not dedicated to their time in service. But when you learn that skill, it helps you all around in all aspects of your life. So I have dedication in my company. I have dedication in the employees I take care of as a HR manager. Having that, again, I see it a lot in others too. It's not just, absolutely the only people that learn that are military, but it helped instill it a little more and ingrain it in part of what you are as a person. We also talk a little bit about willingness to learn. So again, you can teach this, but if you don't have that willingness to learn, either in the military, in life, in your job, it's gonna stunt your growth in what you're doing. So if you have that willingness to learn, you're gonna excel in whatever you do. So in the military, that can be sometimes learning military history, your job, and it can lead to meritorious promotions. So if you're driven and you learn, you're rewarded, but not everybody has that willingness to learn. Some people, and it's fine, they want to stay exactly where they are. That's fine. But if you have that willingness to learn, you can really move yourself. Another one would be volunteering. So I can remember specifically a great time when I was stationed at NAS Memphis. Our unit decided we were going to do donations for Thanksgiving. And that was probably one of the first times I ever did anything like that. And I would say it was probably 1995, right before they shut the base down. We got a bunch of people to donate food, and we would take baskets to people that lived in rural Tennessee and to see what one meal or a meal and a little more food meant to one person or one family really, really hit. I grew up middle class, both mom and dad worked. There are 5 of us. I knew somewhat what it was like to struggle, but nothing like what these people saw.
Right.
So that kind of gave me that volunteer bug. And I've carried that through different things throughout the military. And then when I got out of the military, I had even more opportunity because I could volunteer to help veterans and I can volunteer to help other people too. So that was something that's, near and dear to me. To this day, I continue to volunteer my time as much as I can.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a great story. And it just goes to show you that the things that are regular equipping people in the military that people take for granted, that, it's about culture, it's about who you become. And they talk about these things, the commercials talk about them, and people lose sight of that. So it's, I look back at my life and think, how much better off most people would be if they had spent 4 years in the military, just because going from 18 to 22, you're just a knucklehead, right?
Like don't know anything.
Imagine how much more equipped a kid would be
Right.
coming out of the military and going into college at 22, even after serving 4 years with just that structure and discipline and waking up and having these type of things brought to you that maybe you're not experiencing. While there's probably a little bit of partying, maybe happens. Get a couple of Marines together, they might be able to have a good time. But
Maybe.
I've heard that.
Yeah. But the difference is they'll do it. They're still going to get up at 4:30 and the next morning and be out there.
Be where we need to be and do what we have to do.
Do what you have to do.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's one of the things. My dad was a Marine, and he bled that stuff. And I think that's an important deal. So, what about talent? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, you use the word transition. So to transition the conversation a bit, you mentioned volunteerism and helping veterans, but I assume in your career as a co-HR professional that you're able to potentially help veterans in your job as well and hiring them, because there's probably an underserved talent pool out there that I think companies, I know we are at Apache, and certainly you are as well in Mitsubishi, like coming around to say this is an relatively untapped talent pool with, and a term we use is skill adjacencies. right?
Mhm.
It may not be directly exactly what that role is, but here's what they did that could be a skill adjacency to that, and they can learn quickly. So what all are you all doing, whether it's volunteer or at Mitsubishi, about to tap into the veterans networks and communities to help hire some of those folks?
So a lot of what I do is actually through ECMA, through East Harris County
Awesome.
Manufacturers Association
Yeah.
and Workforce Development. We have looked at avenues of how do we tap into that as an industry-wide group. Individual companies have some success because they already have programs and policies in place.
Right.
They're doing the transition days at some of the larger bases in our area.
That's great.
But with the group I'm with now, we are just, again, trying to educate on the potential of using that resource, that group of people coming out, and how will they transition. Professionally and personally, I've helped in the past with doing resumes, because our resumes, when we get out, don't translate to regular everyday English.
A lot of code words.
A lot of abbreviations and a lot of things that we say in 2 and 3 letters that everybody else in the military knows. But outside of that,
Sure.
What is that? Or how do you take an MOS, a military occupational skill, and translate that to something that may be very applicable to a plant or a construction company? Who is doing that? There are a lot of services for that now. Again, it's changed a lot, but within the last 15 years, I can't say I've helped thousands. I wish I could. I wish I had that kind of time, but I know I've helped translate those resumes for people to be able to transfer into our industries. Also, with Chad, he has military in his family also, and so I've helped him. And he knows who I am. So when he finds out a veteran or someone is getting out, so he'll send me a resume and ask if I hand this out to the Ship Channel HR group, and that sends it out to about 80 companies.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
So it's not as much as I would like to do. I would like and love for Mitsubishi as a company, Mitsubishi Chemical Group, is changing. We all were a bunch of individual locations. Now we're one company, one country. And I want there to be some arm of that deals directly with the military and looking at that resource for a larger group. I mean, we're nationwide. We have companies in the Americas. And then if you look at nationwide, worldwide, we have 60,000 employees.
Wow.
So I would love to get more veterans into our company.
Sure.
And tap that resource.
I think you hear a lot of small businesses that put emphasis on being better known,
Yes.
So, I mean, because the bottom line is if, and I don't know what it is, right? But it's just this, we have this relationship with our honor and our pride of our veterans. And so if I'm picking this guy or I'm picking that guy and I see better known, if it's really a toss up,
Yeah.
I'm going better known. And so veteran owned or entrepreneurs have the luxury of doing that kind of thing. Not luxury, but they've earned the opportunity.
Yes.
Let me rephrase that. They earned the opportunity to be able to claim that. But you're adding this emphasis. If you had to petition or say something to business owners, right, that are not veteran, but that should put emphasis into hiring and bringing and recruiting and finding veterans, what would be your summarization as to why they need to make emphasis? Like if I woke up tomorrow and I own a business and I'm not focused on trying to figure out how to hire veterans, why should I?
That's a big one. It really is. I think there is the leg up of already everyone kind of, like you said, if you saw one business that was veteran owned and one that wasn't, in equal, apples to apples. So there's already a little bit advantage there. But I guess the biggest thing I could say to a business owner and why is one, kind of do a disservice to our veterans when they get out. So there are, again, a lot of tools for them to use now, but there aren't a lot of industries that kind of walk them along to show them the steps.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, you're going to get that dedication from that person.
Absolutely.
So you're going to have an employee that whether he or she knows the job, has that willingness to learn and is going to learn a job, they have the dedication to come and show up every day and do the work. And if you're lucky, they're going to have maybe a little bit of volunteerism bug too. and get a spotlight a little more on your company because of the people that are working for you.
Yeah.
You cultivate a relationship in an atmosphere where veterans want to come, and that's going to help. It's going to get the word out a little more about your company, especially if you're a good employer.
There you go.
If you're treating your employees right, whether they're veterans or not, your employees are going to shout you from the rooftop and say, hey, come work for us.
Yep.
You have a good employee that recommends someone else, you're going to look at that person first, because your good employee most likely is not going to be around other people that aren't of the same caliber as they are.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I was seeking, right? Because when like I said, when I go and pick somebody as a consumer and I see veteran owned, I make that decision. But when an HR person is building a job profile and they're going to plug something into whatever algorithm for the resident or the candidates that they're looking for, and now the machine goes out to pull resumes. The question is, did they type in veteran, or do they enter veteran into that algorithm? And that really should be somewhere where you, in my opinion, you should start. Because if you're going to look at resumes and you got two candidates and you're like, man, this candidate looks awesome. This candidate served my country. This candidate, I know he's going to come with, or he or she's going to come with, boom, 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 that they learned in the military. I mean, besides the Army. I mean, that they don't. Just kidding. I know that was, we just wanted to throw it.
Yes, it's okay. I had told them before the show that my husband, my son's father, also are all Marines, and my son chose Army. But that's okay. We still love him.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. But really, we've had Raymond on our show. He's an Army vet, and a lot of great humans that have come in that were all the different branches. But the moral of the story is this: if you're listening to the show and you're in that HR role, or you're in that decision-making role of where do I find my talent, the question that you have to ask yourself is, am I putting veteran in the algorithm?
Right.
And if not, you should be.
Absolutely.
There's upside to that. So,
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. And correct me if I'm wrong, and you might have to edit this out, but it's not discriminatory to search for a veteran, right?
No, it's not discriminatory to search specifically for a veteran.
Exactly.
No.
So you're not at any risk there. So there's no risk to say that I'm looking for veterans. And that's a good thing. So.
Texas Workforce Commission actually opens up all of their positions to veterans first.
Right.
So before they go to, I think it's, don't quote me because I may be wrong. I think it's about 2 weeks or so that those postings through Texas Workforce Commission are only open to veterans for about 2 weeks before they go out to the general public.
Cool.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's great.
Cool. Well, look, we're getting near wrapping up, so we have a couple other things to cover. Zeke, is there anything else that you want to hit on?
Yeah, just wanted to, if you had any personal highlights. You talked about your volunteerism and the job a little bit and your role there obviously in the veterans community. Any personal highlights you want to share with us in the audience?
Yes. I'd love to say that I just hit 25 years marriage to my husband in September, who is another Marine. So try 25 years to a Marine and another Marine. Our children are very structured, put it that way. We have five children. We have 4 children between us. Great kids. And I would love to say thank you for 27 years being together and 25 years of marriage.
That's awesome.
That's personal. And then professionally, I recently took over a second location. So I'm now senior HR manager over 2 locations.
Great.
So that's been a struggle, but I love it every day. Wouldn't trade it.
Congrats to both. Yeah.
Thank
and
you.
we talked earlier, 25 years of marriage with 2 Marines is like 75 years, right? It's
Yes.
essentially, okay.
Yeah.
So
Well,
you've held the age together. You look great.
He may say that. I've seen it kind of go fast, but he would probably say, no, it, like we said before, dog years, about 7 years for every year.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not easy.
Love it.
Yeah. Lots of hoorahs. Yeah.
Hoorah.
Hoorah. There you go.
Hoorah.
Hoorah.
Hoorah's Army.
Oh, hoorahs. Yeah. That's a celebration.
Hoorah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's okay.
Sorry.
Talk about editing.
Yeah. That one time I got a Marine.
Yeah.
That'd be exciting. Well,
Come bust in the door. Right?
Yeah. So, but really, I think you personified what we were seeking in this week's episode, right? We wanted to share a Marine and share really a veteran who'd gone out and served, and you use keywords: service, giving back, and all these things that I think are part of the DNA of someone who decides to serve our country and then goes on to become an employee or an employer, and in your case, an employer of employees. you are really in that space, but it starts with your active service. You're actively involved with a lot of organizations around here. You kind of carried that over from your time that you did in was it Tennessee that you said
that was part of where I was stationed.
Where
right?
you were stationed, and so I just that personifies the military experience in my eye. Right, somebody who served their country and then goes out and serves whatever organization, their industry, their family, and then so it's a servant heart. It's what it takes for that person. So really hit the nail on that. Thank you for coming on today and really sharing that story. Audience, we appreciate you. This episode is specifically to call out veterans and their significance. And so if you're a veteran and you're listening to that here at the Economic Alliance, we want to thank you. The Gulf Coast Growth Show wants to thank you. And again, if you're an employer and you're not actively going out there and championing the idea and the thought of bringing veterans into your organization and putting it on the forefront, then let's make it a part of that.
That's right.
Let this be a call to action. If you don't know how to do it or you want to think about it, reach out to Dani. Dani, how could somebody get involved or get connected with you if they have a heart for this stuff?
Email would be Dani, DANI.grant at mcgc.com.
All right, fantastic. And there you go. So that's how you could reach out if you, or how do you do this? How do you really make this a passion? And you want to do that, Dani's a great resource for that. And then again, if you want to stay plugged in to Zeke and myself, give us feedback, tell us how we're doing, or just give us some ideas or thoughts, or maybe even some guests, or want to be a guest on the show. Reach out to us on LinkedIn, get plugged in. We'd be happy to help you. Please, again, always pay this episode forward. Take this episode and go put it in someone's hand so we can spread the good news of the great things and tell more stories like Dani's. And if you want to stay subscribed to us, go to the Economic Alliance Houston Port Region's website. Underneath there's a media tab, and you can subscribe to all of our channels. We want to thank you for being a part of the show. And again, ask you to tune in next week.
Thank you, Dani.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Dani.
you for having me.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. And be sure to go to the Economic Alliance Houston Port Region website and subscribe to our channels. And let's pay it forward by sharing the good news of what's happening in our region by passing this episode to somebody you know.